I'm Dr. Revels, and you are listening to the first verse of season 4 of the Revelations podcast. We're all family and friends here, but you can call me Rev. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you are still listening to the Revelations podcast. Again, season 4, verse 1. I am so excited to still be here, showing that consistency that we've talked about several times on this podcast. And more importantly, I'm happy that you are still here rocking with me. So, for everybody that's listening to me, has been consistent over the time, I appreciate you. Those of you who have been less consistent, I appreciate you as well. Go back and listen to season 1, season 2, season 3. Get caught up, see the growth of the podcast, learn something, share it with somebody else. Reach out to me, the at gmail.com. You can also find me on all the social media platforms at the Revelations Podcast. Let me know how I'm doing. If you think I'm terrible, if you think I'm great, whatever it is, let me know so we can get this thing rocking and let the channel grow. So we have been doing things over and over. I've been doing these type of short talks. I had some longer talks in the beginning, and I've revamped the format of the podcast. And one can say that I am practicing. So the topic of today's verse is practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. Let's get into the dictionary definitions as we like to do here on the Revelation podcast. We're all on the same page. First definition, word I said, practice. Practice. Okay. It has a couple of definitions. I'm going to use the secondary definition because the first definition is to carry out, like to do it. Like a doctor practices surgery that when they're doing it, it's practice. But when we think about it, the way we use it for the most part is to do or perform often, customarily, or habitually, right? To do it over and over again, to train, to try, to learn from our mistakes, okay? To perform repeatedly, to do repeated exercises for proficiency. Proficiency, that means we want to get better and better and better and better. So another word that we might use for that is train or training. Training is the act of teaching a person or animal a particular skill or type of behavior. So to be trained is the act of learning, the action of learning a particular skill or type of behavior. So we can help people by training them. We can be trained. All of that is practice. It's repeated, doing it over and over and over again, carrying out the action for proficiency to make it better and better and better. And as I said, I think we've all heard this saying even when we were younger, practice makes perfect. So let's get into that saying and what it actually means. The phrase practice makes perfect means the more you practice something, the better you become at it through repetition and focused effort. Very important, repetition and focused effort. It is a saying used to encourage continual effort and skill development. I am all about that. I am all about continued effort over and over and over again. I was asked the other day, I was sitting in a meeting and I was asked the other day about some skills that I have. And they were like, how did you master these particular skills? And I said, well, I never got tired of it. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, the boring in the situation, what people would consider boring, the doing the same thing over and over, the thing that people would call mundane or it's not spontaneous enough and they need more fun. I find joy in that. It doesn't bother me to do the same things over and over and over again. And the main ingredient in all successful people is consistency. It's doing it over and over. You can listen to 1,000 people talk about, oh, I got successful this way or achieved success that way. Consistency will be the ingredient in everyone's success story. Consistency over and over and over again, especially sustained success. So, practice makes perfect. Now, if you have been rocking with the Revelation podcast, you know it's going to go a little deeper. And if this is your first time, buckle up. Let's get to it. So, practice makes perfect is true, but it's also misleading. Misleading how? Happy you asked. Well, what if practice makes perfect? Okay. What if we are practicing something incorrectly? Do we become perfect with that? If we practice it and it's imperfect, how do we then say practice makes perfect? Well, perfect means to not be able to be improved upon. No one can improve upon it. It is perfect. It is not perfect for you. It is just perfect. It is without blemish. It is above reproach. It cannot be better. It is not possible for it to be better. Not that you can't do it better. It literally cannot be done better. So we say practice makes perfect. If we do things over and over and over again, we'll become so good at it that we cannot possibly become better. It cannot possibly be done better. Well, a couple of things to that. One, we're never perfect. Go back to listen to season 3. When we're always chasing perfection, we will always fail because perfection is never really obtained in humanity, right? Like we cannot be perfect. But beyond that, we understand colloquially what the practice make perfect means. It means if you practice something over and over again, you'll get so good at it, it's almost second nature, and you'll be as close to perfect as possible. But again, what if you're practicing something wrong? Here's the example I'll use. Foreign language. I am learning Spanish. I'm getting better and better every single day. I am not great at it, but I continue to practice. But I had noticed that I was practicing some of the things incorrectly. So I am trying to learn a particular word, a particular phrasing, a particular verb conjugation, and I am practicing it. And I think I'm doing a good job, and I am doing a good job, but I'm practicing it in perfection. So then when I go to use the phrasing, when I go use the words, when I go use the sentence structure, a native Spanish speaker is looking at me like, wait a minute, I don't really understand what that means. And I'm like, no, I practice this. I put in the hours, I put in the time, I put in the effort, I put in the resources, but I practice it imperfectly. So now my practice has been perfected, meaning in this situation, it has come out as something that has become second nature to me, but it's incorrect. Okay. So practice can make perfect, but imperfect practice can make perfect as well. So let's think about it. Are we practicing things the correct way? But beyond that, I want to go a little deeper, one level deeper. I heard a saying about this. We do not rise to the occasion, but we fall to the level of our training. Let's think about that. We do not rise to the occasion, but we fall to the level of our training. So, what does rise to the occasion mean? Rise to the occasion means to perform better than usual in response to a specific situation or event. Again, to perform better than usual in response to a special situation or event. Well, my question is, how can we perform better than usual if we haven't been practicing? How do we perform better than usual if we've never reached that level in our practice? We said practice makes perfect. And I argue that maybe not. Maybe practice doesn't necessarily make perfect because we can be imperfect in our practice. We could be practicing something incorrectly. Okay. So then when it's time to perform, we'll say, you know what, even if I was practicing that incorrectly, or even if I wasn't practicing as hard, I will rise to the occasion. But I argue that we will not rise to the occasion. We will fall to the level of our practice or the level of our training, the level of our skill development and the type of behavior that we have learned over time. See, oftentimes we get in these situations where we do not like to practice. We do not like the mundane. We don't like the doing the same thing over and over and over again. And we think, if this particular situation arises, I know I'll perform. I'll perform better than I have been showing in practice. I haven't really necessarily been giving my 100% best effort in practice because it's just practice. Allen Iverson once said, we're talking about practice, not a game, practice. And he was saying practice is not as important as the game. But I would argue with Allen Iverson or anybody else, how you perform in practice is going to dictate how you perform in the game because, again, we do not rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of our training. The best athletes, they're the greatest practice players. They practice hard. They practice hard. Coaches will tell you, you play how you practice. You practice how you play. So I'm like, wait a minute, this is just practice. Why do I have to go 100%? Why do I have to go hard? Because we do not rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of our training. Think about it in your life. Do you sit back and say, you know what, I really need to learn this skill, learning a foreign language. I really need to learn this skill, but I'm going to lax on this. I'm not really going to try hard. I'm not going to put in my several hours a week, my couple of hours a day, whatever it is. But you know what? I know that when an emergency hits, I'll be able to just speak the language fluently. No, you won't. You're going to fall to that level of your training. Now, your training level can be very, very high. It could be at the top if you practice like you're at the top, if you train like you're at the top. So that's what it's about. It's about not just hoping and wishing and wanting to rise to the occasion, we can make sure we fall to the level of our training, but the level of our training can be so high that we would never have to rise to the occasion. What if we were in a situation where it didn't matter the circumstance, we were always going to perform at our best, and our best is as good as it can be because we have been putting in the practice hours, we've been putting in time for training. So again, we do not rise to the occasion, we fall to the level of our training. And what if our training is imperfect? Like we were saying before, practice makes perfect. Okay, right. Perfect being it's going to stick with me how I practice. But if you practice incorrectly, it's going to stick with you incorrectly. So I would encourage you that when you're practicing, make sure you're practicing the best way possible. Make sure you're practicing the hard as you can. Make sure you are doing your best to give your best effort. Make sure you're staying consistent. Make sure the boring doesn't turn you away from what you have to do, because when that situation arises, you will not rise to the occasion. You're going to fall to the level of your training. And then you're going to sit there and say, well, why didn't I perform as well as I thought I could? Why didn't I do as well as I thought I could? And I can go back and point to your training and say, the reason that you did not perform in the occasion to the special event is because the practice wasn't there. And I can prove it to you. Your native language. You practice your native language. You speak in your native language. You know your native language. And when it is time to use your native language in a emergency situation, you have no problem doing it. You don't start pulling new words out and words you never heard and words you never practiced. Nope. You are there using your language because you know your language, you know the words, you know the verb conjugations, and you're able to use it. You did not rise to the occasion. Nope. You fell to the level of your training. The thing is, you've been training in your native language ever since you began to talk. You've been training. You've been using it. You've been practicing it every single day. You've been using it every single day. When the emergency rise came, you didn't rise to the occasion. You fell to the level of your training. It's just that your training has been made perfect through your practice. Think about that. Think about that. Think about your life. Where is it that you are hoping to rise to the occasion? Where is it that you know you're slacking and you might say, I should be doing better at this? It could be something in your body. It could be something in your mind. It could be something in your heart. It could be something in your job. And you're not practicing hard enough. You're not training the best that you can train. Or you might be training or you might be practicing, but you're training incorrectly. You see people at the gym. They might be doing an exercise and they're working, but they're doing it incorrectly. And then somebody goes over and says, you know what, if you shift that a little bit, it's actually going to work better. They shifted, it worked better, boom, and now their workouts take off because they've been trained properly. So think about it. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment. Thank you again for listening to the Revelsation Podcast. Again, season 4, we are here, season 4, verse 1, season 4, practice makes perfect. You do not rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. I am because we are. Hallelujah, Hollaback. Peace.
Yeah, the Revelations now televised, a platform for you and I, and now look with full heart and clear eyes. Now, these are just my thoughts, truth on how I feel on these topics I reveal. Please know my toll, I always keep it real. Can't face the word if you can't face facts. For your time, just open up your mind, that's it, just live, think big, now take that. With God in me, this here was made by design. Yeah, the revelation will be televised. Revelations.